Out of the blue, EA has announced 3 new Star Wars games. That's right, not 1 or 2, but 3 different genred Star Wars games. And in the subheading of their article, it states, these 3 games include the next game in the Star Wars Jedi franchise, a new Star Wars FPS, and a completely new strategy game to boot as well. They announced the developers working on each of these 3 games, and it's actually all being done between Respawn and BitReactor. The game director of the original Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Stig Asmussen, returns for its sequel, and launch dates for this sequel have leaked, and they're expecting it to be earlier than we initially thought. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the video, however. And before you get excited, the new first-person shooter from EA is unfortunately not Battlefront 3. This will be a completely new Star Wars FPS from Respawn, and the game director is none other than Peter Hirschmann, who was at the forefront for all the Medal of Honor games dating all the way back to 1999. But it wasn't just Medal of Honor he was working on, he was also the executive producer on the original Star Wars Battlefront games. So hopefully we could see some Battlefront influence on this new franchise. The third new game from EA is a Star Wars strategy game, developed through a production collaboration with the newly formed studio BitReactor and Respawn Games. The game director leading this project is none other than Greg Forcht. And if you're not sure who he is the art director for the original XCOM and XCOM 2. It's not just him on the team, there is a lot of the original XCOM team joining BitReactor. So if you really had to make an educated guess on what this strategy game is going to be, imagine it being XCOM meets Star Wars. So already a highly diverse style of games coming from EA, which is a massive surprise, considering when they had taken control of the Star Wars gaming franchise back in 2013, the only games they were known to publish was third-person shooter games and mobile games alike. So this is a big, diverse cast of game developers and projects. Unfortunately, there was no release dates on any of these games, but we did see some leaks of the launch date for Jedi Fallen Order 2. In a recent article, game journalist Tom Henderson has been a really reliable source of information in the past for numerous video games, and he states that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 isn't on track to be properly revealed by EA or Respawn Entertainment in those short few months. And specifically, he says the date has been pushed back to May 4th, 2022. That's the date that fans should be circling on their calendar, and then he believes that they expect the game to be launched anywhere between October 2022 to December 2022. This is a stark difference from the reportings that came out in May of last year, stating that Jedi Fallen Order 2 was pushed back all the way to 2023. This was reportedly due to the pandemic and the company having to figure out working from home situations, but despite the sequel not even being announced properly by EA yet, it looks like the game is roughly on production schedule. Also, just a quick reminder, if you love everything Star Wars gaming as well as Star Wars Empire at War, why not join our Discord? Our invite code will be in the pinned comment down below so you can play some Star Wars games with fans alike. But returning back to EA's new Star Wars FPS game, game director Peter Hirschmann states, working with Lucasfilm Games on a new FPS in the Star Wars galaxy is a dream come true for me, as this is a story I've always wanted to tell. Certainly quite an ominous status, but we know he's worked on the Medal of Honor series and the original Star Wars Battlefront games, but also has been a vice president of development at LucasArts for quite a while now. So whilst this new Star Wars FPS certainly does sound exciting, it does tell us that EA is using Respawn Entertainment specifically as a second-party developer that focuses entirely on Star Wars games now. So not only does this mean bad news for Battlefront players, but it also means bad news for Titanfall 2 players as well. The possibility of having a Battlefront 3 or a Titanfall 3 is now pretty much dead, and I wouldn't expect those games to come out anywhere between 7 to 10 years now. With a snippet of an article from VentureBeat stating, But beyond the Bit Reactor game, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's sequel, and the FPS project, EA is done with Star Wars. DICE, which is still putting out the fires with Battlefield 2042, is focusing on Battlefield's franchise going forward, and EA is looking to once again emphasize its own properties, such as beloved franchises like Dead Space, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect, and is working on sequels for each of those. And that is actually true. EA is looking to develop new games for all three of those franchises. So as we reach at the tail end of EA's exclusivity rights on Star Wars games, it is starting to look like these big three Star Wars games are going to be the last games in the franchise from EA. Swiftly moving on to the final game on our list, Bit Reactor's new Star Wars strategy game has had a little bit of coverage in the past. It was certainly a bit vague, but an article by Game Industry a couple of days ago talked about Bit Reactor forming a new studio. And in the article, we can see the leading game developer, Greg Forch, talk about this game. He talks about strategy games having a bad rap in the past, specifically talking about the resolutions of screens not being high enough and having to work out how controller players can effectively play these strategy games. But these problems are starting to be solved by themselves. Resolutions of screens are naturally getting higher, and developers have found really effective ways of using controllers in these strategy games. As an example, Greg mentions Mario Rabbids on the Nintendo Switch and Gear Tactics. He states they couldn't be more different, but they all have the same DNA underneath them, and there's a lot of flexibility in that. And he continues it with, "Our goal is to win Game of the Year. We expect to go head to head with Halo or whoever is out there, just like we did in 2012. So they certainly have lofty ambitions for this Star Wars strategy game that will probably be coming out in the next 3 to 4 years. So those are the 3 games. We have roughly one release date for one of them, but the other 2 are much more ambiguous. But EA did touch upon this topic, however, stating work has already begun on all 3 of these projects, and Respawn is looking for talent to join the teams. Additional information on available job openings can be found on the Respawn careers page. And they certainly aren't joking. Jobs in administrative, analytics, and IT are pretty much all taken. But there is about 20 to 30 job positions each for art, game design, and software development. So the company is certainly doing a big expansion so they can cover all 3 games at once. That is all the information we have on all 3 new games from Respawn and EA. So the sequel of Jedi Fallen Order properly announced, Star Wars Battlefront 3 is definitely not in production, no Star Wars Empire at War, and certainly no Titanfall 3 either. What are your opinions on these new games being announced by EA? Are you excited? Are you skeptical? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I read all of them, and I'll get back to some of you as well. But besides that, guys, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.